There's no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to the meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, this is to confirm that we are providing public access to the meeting by phone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We're using the Zoom platform for this meeting, this electronic meeting. All members of the committee have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during the meeting through the Zoom platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate by dialing the following phone number: 1-646-558-8656 and meeting ID 845-4293, F as in flower 1647, or by clicking on the following website address, which is on the notice. B, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of how to access the meeting using Zoom, and instructions are provided on the town's website at www.hopkinton-nh.gov and on the town's Facebook page. C, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody does have a problem, please call 603-746-8256. Adjourning the meeting. D, adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting, we will adjourn it and have it rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during the meeting are done via roll call. Let's start the meeting by taking roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please state whether there is anyone in the room with you during the meeting, which is required under the right to know law. Stephen Whitley, I am in this room by myself. Jim Ferdima.
Jim Ferdima, sitting here in my office, and my wife is in the other room.
Okay. Eric Newman.
Eric Newman, no one else is present with me. Thank you.
Greg Sagres.
Greg Sagres, no one else is present.
Andrea Folsom.
Andrea Folsom, alone.
Anna Wells.
Anna Wells, alone.
Okay. We are missing 2 members tonight, Meredith Lee and Tom Congoran. But otherwise, we have all of the EDC here. So it's great to see everyone. And we also have Matt Monahan and Mike Tardif from Central New Hampshire Regional Planning. So hello, guys.
Evening.
All right. So we are going to jump into the agenda here. Excuse me. And first up is going to be the review of the minutes, which Neil previously circulated. So does anybody have any edits to make to those minutes? Okay. Seeing none, can I get a motion and a second to approve the minutes?
So moved.
A second.
Okay. Roll call vote for all those in favor. Eric, I'm going to start with you.
I'll abstain. I wasn't present.
Okay. Greg.
Abstain, wasn't present.
Okay. Andrea.
Andrea Folsom, yes.
Anna.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. Okay. All right. So the next item that we had on the agenda was a follow-up to the EDC's visioning session. And Meredith was going to take the lead on that, but as I mentioned just a second ago, she is not able to be with us tonight. So I think we're going to table that, and we'll just circle back around to that at the next EDC meeting. Unless anybody has anything really urgent that they want to discuss under that, I think we should just wait until Meredith is with us at the next meeting. Okay, seeing none, then yeah, we're going to just table that. So next up is the Economic Strategic Plan. And I believe, Matt, is this where you are taking over, Matt?
Yeah, so so what I'm gonna do is I want to kind of walk through what I've done here. I kind of repackaged and drilled down on our last document And what I tried to do is, and I did kind of going through it again, see a couple other objective type things to plug in there. Some of which are website related, and I know it's kind of a little bit more than we've talked in the past, but just kind of going through that process, I wanted to talk to you guys about that. But for the most part, the bulk of this document, when I put it up, it's really the far right side where it's this deliverables column. And then the kind of the timeline about when they could be completed. I think those timelines are to kind of help guide us, but they could be flexible. You know, things could be done sooner, could be done slower, just kind of depending on how things play out. It is important to note too that with Mike here to talk build out and some of those other things we discussed last time, that could kind of impact the timelines of this. So just kind of keeping in mind those factors as well. I'm gonna do a quick share here and let's see if I can do the share correctly. Hold on a sec.
Neil, did you already give him sharing power? Okay, good, because I have not.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so can everybody see that screen, the spreadsheet? Okay, so now I know, you know, you guys just got it tonight, so I don't expect like a full, you know, rigorous analysis of kind of what you guys think about it. But these deliverable things, I'll just kind of spin through a few and just kind of thinking as the next month or so, if you guys could just kind of give it a good digest and make sure it's right, and then go from there. So just kind of a snapshot of a few of them. So that top one, right? Big picture objective: promote mixed use development opportunities in the Commerce and Community Center Community Overlay District in West Hopkinton, along Maple Street and north to the intersection of the three routes. And then that breaks out into kind of these three short-term sub outcomes, I guess you could say. The coordinating with Henniker, number one, the proposed projects funded via the TIF, number two, and then number three being the just kind of working with Henniker on some of the zoning changes. And then those three break into these specific deliverables that that should make up the components to complete those outcomes, and then in turn that objective, right? So that first one, I'm thinking ballpark, 3 meetings to identify specific projects to encourage the attraction and retainment of businesses in key industries. And I'm calling those key industries basically so the state of New Hampshire does projections every year of, you know, by industry. They really do a great job of that. So we just use that tool and look at the list of industries that they're kind of laying out. And then we say, okay, here's the growth industries. And then here's the what we see as kind of what we want to focus on for our community character, and then try and match those up. Let me give you an example. The classic one is that, like, the healthcare industry. You could see that one pop up as, you know, hey, growth industry, healthcare, right? In this analysis they do. But we know that our community character is not exactly the hospital, but it could easily be, you know, the home business, dentist or doctor or whatever. So that's kind of an example of how I come up with what I'm calling these key industries, right? So that's an example of how that particular one breaks down. Let me just grab some other ones here. I got them on one page, which I think is helpful. Let's see. So this one here, the sewer and water. I know last time Neil had mentioned there was some analysis done, and we had talked about kind of like, it's kind of like doing a sculpture, right? You get the rough outline, and then you kind of do a little more, and you get the face, the eyes, and then you get the you know, the facial features. And that's kind of how I like to think about these types of studies, because you kind of got to take a couple cracks at it. to really get down to, we need X, foot of pipe, we need a pump station in this exact location, and the cost is this. So kind of just think about that, like whittling down or kind of making a nice sculpture there. But yeah, so you look at this, we've got the feasibility. So we're going to build on what we've already got. So that's kind of this piece right here. So step one is take a look at that. Step two, look at the funding. And all this is really going to be driven by kind of the engineer. But I think these type of benchmarks in this will help us steer it and help us when we talk to an engineer who's going to do this analysis for us. So kind of with that, I would kind of ask you guys, do you want to go through, I want to talk website stuff really quick. So right now, the website is kind of set up and just thinking about the tax incentive zone piece, right? So we've got our ERZ piece, and then we've got kind of our 79E piece. And what I would like to do, if you guys are on board with this concept, is just kind of for this one issue, have a new page. So you go up to the top of the website, you hover over business, and then there's maybe a button pops up for tax incentives. And that's literally all it says. Click on that. And then it's kind of like they all live right there, right? So right out of the gate, they know we're talking tax incentives. You go here's 79E, here's the ERZ tax credit. And then if we get that third one that we're talking about in the plan here, the industrial one, we could put that there too. So basically it's a one-stop shop that says, here's all these things. And then we could just kind of collect the documents there. They don't necessarily have to come out of where they are right now, but just have it so that there's one location where somebody goes, they mouse over business, and then all of a sudden they say, ooh, tax credits or tax incentives, and they click right there and they're able to get right there. We've got a really sweet map that Craig put together after I volunteered him last time, but check this out. It's really cool. So you've got our overview of where they are in town, right? So it kind of lays them out. You got ERZ and 79E. Then you've got this ERZ zone here. And then further still, we get them to look at specific properties, and you've got that here and here. So, and then you throw the zoning on top of that, people are able to look at the sandwich and say, okay, I take a bite, this particular property here, whatever that may be, here's what I'm getting in that bite. I'm getting 79E, I'm getting ERZ, and OPS, it's zoned, village industrial. That's totally in line with my vision or whatever that may be. But anyway, that's kind of my fire hose of stuff. And I can go more on this if you guys want and walk through these things a little more. Or did you guys kind of want to digest it between now and time we meet? How do you guys want to approach that?
I mean, this is great, Matt. So thank you for putting this together. But I guess I want to open it up to the board and see if people want to have a chance to digest this first, or if people have kind of questions that jump out to them right now.
I mean, I think it's great stuff to get out there. Looking at that map, I'm pretty sure I built a business probably within that zone and had no idea it existed. So it's definitely a good thing if we got a map out there on the website, laid it out clearly for anyone looking to come to town.
Okay. Yeah. And Greg, just to kind of go off that, I mean, we had in Pittsfield, they had 79E and ERZ in place for several years before somebody used it. And we tried to promote it and, different ways. And I really do think the number one way is to actually just call people up in the district, in the zone, and just reach out. And that's where that letter from Bridget is going to be very helpful for us to just kind of literally just start saying, okay, here's all the properties. And then I think I need to, it looks like I need to spend a day or two just doing outreach on all of our different things and all of our different zones and things. But the bottom line is, you're right. If people don't know about it, they're not going to use it. And
Matt, can you go back to the map?
sure.
is there, and maybe this is, I would catch this if I just took a second to look at it, but I'm just going to ask. Is there anywhere where the ERZ and the 79E overlap each other?
Yeah, so let's see. So we've got our through here. So we've got our ERZ boundary in red, and the 79E is in this orange cross hatching. So if you look here, we've got here's ERZ, comes around, swings around here and up and over. And then here's 79E. These areas here do. So there are portions that are, but there's a lot of portions that are not. And that's okay, right? I mean, this
Yeah, no,
parcel.
I was just asking just to kind of see if it was called out really well by the map. Just, I mean, because I know we've talked previously about, having layers upon layers of kind of incentives. And I guess wanted to see if it was pretty easy to tell if there was any overlap, or if that was something maybe to tweak the map a little bit and try to better delineate.
Yeah, I mean, that could be a good idea to just have Craig say, for right here. So we've got ARZ, we've got 79E, and then like a something for both. So like a third color type thing, that could be a good way to go. I will check with Craig on getting that in there. So we need a third.
Sorry, Matt, can you repeat that? I was
No problem.
not focused on what you were saying.
No problem. My 10-year-old's painting a painting like 7 feet from where I'm sitting. So
Of you?
Yeah, so I was thinking, right? So we've got the ERZ color overlay, then we've got the 79E. I could just see if Craig could come up with a third one that's kind of the combination.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see it's red, orange, green, or whatever. Yeah, that'll work, I think.
I mean, I haven't heard much from the board, so I'm going to prod them all again in a second. But I mean, my sense is that I really like the map, and it would be great to get that out before waiting for another meeting. I would like to look at the spreadsheet you put together, just me personally, and before I kind of offered any feedback, just because it looks like you put a lot of time into that and there's a lot of information there. And so I just want to have a little time with it before I offer any comments on it, or I feel like I should take a little
Okay.
time with it before I do that. So I don't know how others feel about, sounds like there's two things. It's, are we comfortable putting the map on the website along with the ERZ and 79E information now? And then the second question is, do we want to try to dig into this spreadsheet now, or do we want to wait a meeting and give members a time to review it?
So I would like to look at the spreadsheet more and, be able to really dive into it on my own time. I do just at like first glance, I love the way it's organized. I'm really looking forward to diving into it. So thank you very much for that. And then on the map, I do have a couple of comments and like little nitpicky things on the map, because that's the way my brain works. So I'm happy to directly talk to Craig if you'd prefer, so I don't take up time and make things, because he and I are talking about stuff anyway. So
yeah, I would think that'd be a good thing, Anna, just because that way, it's the telephone game thing with me conveying it versus you directly.
right, lost in translation kind of thing. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll do that. But I do like the idea of getting it out there on our website with the explanation of what those districts are. I think that's exactly what we need out there. So yes.
I mean, I would say, Anna, if you have some feedback to offer to Craig, then I would suggest we wait on putting the map up.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll do that like today, tomorrow. Okay, fine, not today, tomorrow. I can look at that and be in touch with him. And
So kind of off that, if I could kind of game out like a timeline.
Mhm.
I talked to Katie today and I said, so let's assume, tomorrow, Anna and Craig can chat and we get the map the way we like it. And that looks good. And I asked Katie today, I said, if the board is okay with it, could we, between now and Friday, kind of set up that catch-all tax credit or tax incentive page on the website? Would you guys be okay if we went ahead and did that once the map is all set between now and Friday? Andrea?
See,
I'm
no
a
objection.
strong yes on that. Yeah.
Okay. And
Anybody else
And
have
it-
any other feedback on that?
Yeah, this is Jim. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead, Jim.
I like the format for the strategic plan with the objectives, timeframe, outcome, and deliverables. I also like the maps. And I'd actually like to see one additional set of maps that would be more focused on the individual properties within each of those districts,
Hmm.
so that somebody could take a look at it and follow up and say, okay, I like these two pieces here, and what are they presently appraised at or assessed at? So if I'm going to think about doing this, this is how much money I'm going to have to probably spend to acquire these properties. There's some of their preliminary work. Basically,
That
an
was one of
inventory
my-
of the
One of my
property.
comments was like property lines would be great,
Mhm.
just highlight like certain amenities through town, just so that people know, like just for orientation purposes, that I think that's helpful, that kind of thing. So
Would it be
I will.
too much to ask of maybe Karen if we ran kind of a comparison against who's pulled building permits in the past year or so on those eligible properties in the zone, so we can kind of see easily who to reach out to, because we'll know who did work on them that could qualify?
That'd be a
I
good
think that's a
idea.
great idea.
Yeah.
No idea what it'll show, but I mean, I think it's a good question to ask.
Yeah, it could. I mean, it could give us some real easy wins that would, I think, help boost the education around this project. If we show up to, John Smith's store and say, "Hey, you put 20,000 into building this new thing for your business. We think we can get you some of that money back."
Yeah,
yeah, it's probably good to target those people. I mean, we do need to be reaching out to everyone in the district, but targeting people who've already, made the investment, yeah, is a good idea.
but and let me just ask Greg, I mean, were you envisioning that would be graphically a part of the map? Or is that just like a separate thing to do now that we have?
I think separate, as we try to educate people to go and look for the map.
Okay, okay.
Nothing's going to educate like someone going around town saying, "I got some money back for investing in my business."
Yeah.
Like, that's free advertising for us, pretty much.
Okay. So I agree, Greg. I think that's a great suggestion. I think what Matt is looking to know is, are we comfortable putting these maps up after Anna and Craig have a chance to talk? And are we also comfortable with something on the website directing people to ERZ and 79E resources? Did I get that right, Matt?
Yeah, just so I can, and it's the first draft of it, right? So we put the stuff up, and I'm just kind of thinking, number one on the maps, I think James has a good idea about, being able to drill down on the parcels, and maybe that's a conversation. There could be a second set of maps, right? Like this is overview / marketing kind of this map. Hold on, I gotta.
While we have a second, Jim, I think that's a great suggestion, by the way, and Anna, about having enough detail so people can see.
Sorry about that. He's not a fan of the Amazon guy.
I don't think I would deliver to his house ever again if that dog came at me with that bark.
That's a big dog.
I'd rather have the dog in the background than a crazy drunk uncle.
Who has a crazy drunk uncle in the background?
Yeah, I'm looking at all the other feeds. There's an entertaining one that I don't have up.
All right, I got to step over to that other one for a couple of minutes, hopefully only a few, but yeah, I'm good with this getting out there and in everyone's hands once Anna's had a chance to go through it all.
Yeah, thank you, Greg.
And me too. I'm looking forward to reviewing it once it's emailed out. All right, I'll be back in a few.
Anyway, sorry about that. What I was thinking is we could have a separate set of drill down maps that kind of, once we get them in here, then, you know, we can drill down. I'm sure Craig could do that. I just got to figure out the way to frame it for him. And then secondly, I'm so sorry about that. And then secondly, you know, we can take a look at the website after we make these changes, and then just kind of let me know, and we can adjust it and go from there, right? Like first draft of the page, we can always update it, but just to get it out there and get the promotion stuff going, you know, while we can, and we can always adjust. I guess that's kind of what I'm hoping to get a thumbs up on.
That sounds good to me. I don't think it's going to be perfect in the first iteration for this type of subject matter.
Can I ask one more thing of the spreadsheet? Would it be possible to switch it around a little bit so that the deliverables are in chronological order? That would just help me as far as knowing what's coming next, because I noticed that, you know, it starts at the top with September 2021, and then further down I saw April 2021, and so I just want to know kind of what we're focusing on next. That would just be helpful, at least with how my brain works.
Or maybe, Matt, I don't know if this is in a format that you can give it to us and we can sort by the date, just so we can manipulate it, you know. Would that help? Would that get you what you need, Andrea? Okay.
Really? Yeah. I just noticed it was a PDF, so.
Right.
Yeah. So here's what I can do. I put this in a Word document just to kind of get it on one page, to kind of lay everything out in one thing. But I can send you guys the Excel spreadsheet version of it, to kind of do that. I do have, I did some merging of cells here, kind of going across. So they kind of going this way or this way on your guys' computer. The objective one is several merged cells. So that would be the only issue. And then here, you've got kind of some more merging going on. But I will do that. I'll send you the Excel version of that, and we can go from there.
And anybody else have any feedback on putting up ERZ and 79E information and maps now after Anna and Craig have a chance to connect? I'm not hearing any other objections to that. Okay.
I guess my only question is about like, and then this is so like in the weeds, but website organization, like, do you have a sense of where this will live? And I mean, I haven't looked at the website with this in mind to think about where it belongs organizationally on the website, but we could do that too. I mean, looking at the, you know, just looking at it and giving a little feedback about where we think it should reside.
My first thought is, so when you go to the web page, you put your mouse over the business tab and it triggers all those other buttons. I would like it right there if that works for you guys, just because, you know, that's kind of their angle, their perspective. Or another option is we could actually just create another thing at the top. And I'm talking for Katie, so she's not here, but another button right at the top that just says tax incentives, right next to the business button. So you've got, it's right up there. So it's one less activity that somebody has to take to direct them to that information. So I could go either way with it, I think. Yeah, I would kind of defer to you guys and see what you want to do with that. But if we could do it as just the one at the top, one heading of its own right next to the business one, I would go that way. But if we can't, we can put it under business, because that's kind of the next best thing.
Under business is really simple. It's a little bit more difficult to add a tab. So, in 10 minutes, we could have it under business. So maybe we'll start there and then can work on adding the tab if you want the tab.
Okay.
I think it's fine under business. I think it's, yeah, I don't want to clutter the front page with too much. So putting it under business, you know, it's just a hover and then that's easy. So that's great. Yeah, it's just tax incentives for businesses.
Yeah, I like it under the business pull down.
Perfect.
And then they're kind of in two places now. And if you go to one page from there, it doesn't matter where they really live otherwise, because your access would be right through there. So that would be pretty simple and easy.
Yeah, and I think, Neil, when we get together with Katie and we can kind of game that whole scenario out and go from there. So I know we had talked about the 11th and I think the 18th as potential dates. If we could go for the 11th, I'll see if we can line that one up
That would work.
and just go from there so we can try and have it up and ready by week's end. If it can work out that way.
Okay. Do you need anything else from us, Matt, on this piece?
I'm pretty good. I just, you know, the website feedback and just kind of how you just said, I wanted to give you that overview of the spreadsheet. I'll send you guys tomorrow morning. I'll send or even tonight as I'm sitting here, I'll send the Excel version of this document. And then I'll just look for the in-depth chat next time and we'll go from there.
Sorry, was regulating sugar intake.
Zoom is fun at home.
Yeah, so that sounds great. Thank you, Matt. And I think we're ready to move on the agenda, but I want to make sure, Matt, that you didn't have anything else under this first.
Nope, I'm good. I'll be able to move on from here.
Okay, great. Okay, so next up is new business. We've got a TAP funding update and a DOT meeting. Neil, is this you?
I think TAP is Anna.
I can just quickly say that I submitted a letter of intent to apply for transportation alternatives funding to DOT last Friday. So this is a New Hampshire administers it's a federal program. New Hampshire distributes the funds. And so it was a pretty simple process. Craig made a couple of maps for us. The general idea is to apply for a little over $1 million of funding to upgrade some sidewalks, both in and around Kentucky Village and Hopkinton Village, connecting. I mean, the big idea for TAP funds is connectivity for non-motorized transportation. And there's a lot of that we can improve on in town. So that went in on Friday. I have no idea from here what the timeline is, to be honest. You don't either. Good.
We're waiting to hear when folks who applied and put their letters of intent in will hear back, and they'll set up a Zoom meeting to find out more about the program. So
Great.
we're asking the same question.
Yeah, no, I mean, these are big projects. They'll be great anytime, so no rush. But I was excited to be able to do it for this round of funding, and worked a little bit with Dan Blanchett at Highway as well. And so he's on board, and it was really helpful. He went out and did some measurements and gave us some ideas for problem spots that he has out there for maintenance and stuff like that. So if we can improve, if we can do a little widening, a little drainage, a little, even creating, there's some areas where we need to create new sidewalk with curbing, things like that. So fingers crossed. I have no idea. My first go round in this, so I have no idea what our chances are or anything like that, but I'm hopeful that something comes of it. We went big. We're like, both villages and lots of thousands of feet of sidewalk, over $1 million, but hopefully something comes of it and we can do some good work. It is an 80-20 match. So the town will have to come up with 20%, but worth it in my opinion. So hopefully we can do that.
And
ahead,
if I
Mike.
may, for some perspective on it, this is a great year to go big. And the council that we have gotten, just, the potential to finally have an infrastructure bill
Mm,
or for whatever kind of stimulus, that this is definitely the year to go big, and they may end up approving more projects than in the past, not just 2 years, to get more projects in the queue. So you didn't want to miss this year. So
good.
it's a good time. And, even if it doesn't get funded, you're working your way up through the process.
Mhm.
And you never know, some type of shovel-ready project, what that means, and moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an important key, is that it does have to be shovel ready. And I think, this is one of those things that, like, we could have been ready yesterday for, improving our sidewalks. So hopefully it works out. But that's great. Great to know.
Thank you, Anna.
My pleasure.
All right, so DOT meeting.
Sure, DOT is scheduling a meeting. They call it a blank sheet meeting on the Route 2029 intersection. Tentatively, they've thrown out March 25th, but they were checking with other people. As soon as they set that date, I will let everyone know, and we'll start helping them to advertise that.
Is there a
So-
location for that yet?
Zoom.
Okay.
So, and
Should've known.
they're arranging all that. That's something that they do, but
Okay,
so as soon as we have more information, we'll pass that on.
okay. Thanks, Neil. Okay, updates, swinging back to you, Matt, for the TIF District Board and the ERZ workshop.
So on the TIF district board, I've kind of been into plan review, a lot of plan review stuff and some zoning change stuff. So what I really want to do is I'm going to try and hit it hard this week. And sadly, we actually did have Julie Norris from McLean. She got a new job, so we lost our one potential. So I think it's going to be, honestly, it could be kind of a slog to get a few people, but we'll do the best we can, and I'll just stay on it. But at least, there was interest from McLean, so hopefully I can find another person there and get a few more from there. So, and as far as the ERZ workshop, so there were 2 items that came from Bridget. One of them was up on the ERZ page now. It's kind of an FAQ, which is really helpful. The other one was kind of that letter template that she had identified or said that she would share to us. And I got it. And what I'd like to do, if you guys are okay with it, is just take a quick look at it and just let me know if I can just kind of like fire at will with that thing. So I can just kind of start reaching out. Once we get the web page up and running, we'll be able to have it all there. I can just start reaching out and just kind of take our list of properties and just start sending them out as often as I can.
So Neil, actually, if this is the same one, Neil, you circulated this to us with the minutes and the agenda, right?
I did, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, Matt. So we hopefully have had a chance to look at this yet, or look at this. So I guess I'm curious if the board members have any feedback on Matt's request to get this out. Okay, not seeing or hearing any objections or feedback. Matt, I think you can run with that. So thank you.
Awesome. I never know if I'm on mute or not. Thank you. And I'll start getting my list together. And yeah, I'm going to be doing a lot of outreach. That's good.
Great. Good. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, so land swap, Neil.
Believe it or not, everything is complete for closing, and all we have to do is the closing. So they are working with the state to set up that date. So I'm optimistic, but everything's been filed, deeds are agreed upon, everything is good. So
Good.
I think within the next few weeks, the closing will happen and that will be done.
Don't say a few weeks.
I at some point the closing will be done.
Yeah, honestly, if it's in calendar year 2021, I'll be really, really happy. Thank you. That's on its surface, an encouraging update. So thank you. I have an other that I wanted to just toss out there, but before I do mine, I wanted to see if anybody else, Mike, did you want to say something?
I had a couple of other things.
Okay, go for it.
Too long. We, with regards to the March 25th meeting, that's where I think some valuable input on the build out side. And, it's great timing. I heard back from Jennifer, the project manager today, about that, and the fact that they're to that point where they're almost done collecting their data, and they're going to start thinking about what that project is to really have a good feel for what the Hopkinton side could be built out to be, as well as the Henniker side could be built out to be, could feed into what the scale and what type of project they actually come up with. You don't want to be responding when they've started to put pen to paper. You want to be providing that input before. So we have been working on that, and we have the framework for that build out analysis. What I would offer to you would be for us to work with Karen and bring an idea of some numbers to you for your next meeting. So you have that before, and we're basically trying to do the same thing on the Henniker side as well. But it's nice timing for that. Just like anything with DOT, they'll use it if they want to use it, but it's providing that input early enough that it could impact the project development.
I mean, I think that would be a great opportunity for us to get some information in front of them. And I think I would love it if you would work with Karen, or Karen would work with you, Mike, to get that put together.
We've got our staff working on a mapping, and Matt took a look at some of the zoning, and also we're ready to have that conversation and have the numbers and what that zoning really does mean or could potentially mean. And, have that for the DOT staff.
I mean, I guess my only kind of question is, they want to meet March 25th. We've got a bunch of zoning amendments on the ballot for March 9th, which may impact how the build out looks.
Sure.
Can you guys wait until March 9th to do that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because I think it'd be nice if we could give DOT the most up-to-date information, particularly if it impacts the build out.
I do agree with that it's helpful to have the most up-to-date information, but I think the changes that are being proposed, because it's the Commerce and Community Overlay District, it's not really going to change anything because that's the overlay. Like it changes the underlying zoning a little bit, tiny bit, but because it's the CCOD, it actually isn't going to change, I think, the build out potential. So, I guess
we could run our numbers and we could talk about it as, after, town meeting and see if you think that it would have changed it a little bit.
That'd be great. Thank you, Mike.
Also tied into the letter of intent for TAP. And I always like to, every once in a while, talk about the charrette. And, it's interesting looking at the dates and how it was a couple of weeks before our middle kid was born and he just turned 21. It was a good couple of days on that charrette. And I was just wondering if I could throw up a graphic from the, and take a look at Fountain Square and just get a little traction from you, because what Matt and I have been talking about has been, the real details for your strategic plan and my 5,000 foot level for the master plan chapter, and how we can move forward on potential changes to Fountain Square, and if there's room for that right now. So Matt or Neil, could you share that Kentucky graphic that I had?
There it comes.
One of my favorite graphics. And so the idea that our consulting engineer, Mike Vignali, could perhaps help move the conversation, however incrementally forward, on Fountain Square again. And I was just wondering if there was, how hard to emphasize that in the economic development chapter. But is that something that within your strategic plan and your what you want to emphasize in the next few months, is that anything interesting that you would like us to take a look at? Are you ready to talk about that, I guess, is my question. Because I can bring some time from our consulting engineer, and it could tie in with some assistance that we could provide with the letter of intent for the TAP project, if that's necessary. And if we weren't sure, Anna, if you needed our help on that.
I think it's definitely worth looking at again. It's such a conundrum, this spot, as anyone who's looked at it knows. Just because we have, I mean, the issues here are so multi-layered with the trucks. It's our commercial center. It's our walk between our elementary and middle high school. It's the walk to the library. This is such the heart of our village, and yet we have 18-wheelers that need to go through there. So it's a really tough nut to crack. So I think as many minds that want to look at it, I think the better. And I love the idea that it might somehow fit in with the TAP project if that moves forward, because that's the time, right? I mean,
Sure.
We should definitely be proactive about that.
No matter what, this is a 21-year-old graphic.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. I love this charrette too. I guess I'd have to think a little bit more about how it, the sort of the role that it would have in the strategic plan and, master plan rewrite, all of that. Because adding to all of the other issues that I already mentioned, there's a lot of people have nostalgia about the village, and it's really hard. I mean, you all know it's really hard to make changes to something that people have emotional connections to, and the fountain is one of them. And I think there's a lot of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I think also that there's a lot of not seeing that it's a little broke. It is kind of broken. There are issues and people don't want to really see it. But so yeah.
You want to ponder this, and I can circle back for you next month as well?
I'd love to hear what other people have to say.
Any other feedback for Mike?
I just kind of want to, what Anna was talking about, in Goffstown here, we had a similar situation. Our downtown was all those things. Our high school and stuff was not there, but it's our village and 18-wheelers coming through. And we kind of went through this process ourselves. I wasn't involved, but the end result was some like road diet type stuff and things like that to force people to slow down. And the benefits of that were, obviously the safety one, but also getting people slowing down. They're going to look more and say, oh yeah, look at that place there. I can go for lunch or shopping or whatever the thing is that they're looking at. So it could be a good vision. And I guess it's been done before and it was all the same stuff, don't change it. And all the same things you're thinking of. So it's a good strategy to do that. And it can actually move quickly, I think, in a, depending on how it lays out with DOT and stuff.
So we've had some good luck with our consulting engineer, Mike McNally, with some graphics, and it does help crystallize some of the potential improvements. And I have another graphic that he did actually that's next on this. So another one of my favorites, if we can zoom into that a little bit, Neil, I'm sorry. But this was the revised graphic that we did a couple of years ago, and we did the cost estimate for potential improvements to get rid of that slip lane going up, coming out of the village to go up on 103. So here's an example of, some of Mike's graphics, Mike McNally's graphics. But I wanted to ask you, the EDC, about this as well, about, how realistic it is to be talking about this project that was estimated in 2018 dollars to be $260,000. I thought a pretty conservative estimate, but so you tie into some of the potential sidewalks, slow the traffic down. That slip lane was over-designed many years ago. You can talk a lot about either side of the village, and but wanted to get your take on this concept and how far to, how to emphasize this in the master plan as well, and within your work as a committee. Or on the converse, stop bringing this stop bringing this graphic around, Mike. We're done.
My memory and yeah, no, don't stop. I mean, I'll
Gotta keep hammering it.
Yeah, I'll speak for me. I mean, I think this should be addressed. My memory is that the priority list that we had talked about before, that this, I think, got moved down to third behind two intersections in Kentucook, the fire section one and then the Fountain Square one. Am I remembering that correctly? Anybody else on the board, or Neil?
That's the way I remember it too.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I based on that priority, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think the board likes this fix to that intersection, but there's just some other ones that we had put a more timely focus on in the village, in Kentucook Village.
So it was Fountain Square, then Park and Pine, and then this one?
I think it was the flip. I think it was Park and Pine first, then Fountain Square,
Okay.
and then this one.
So keep carrying this one around, putting it up on the Zoom meeting every once in a while, and include it in the long term. But
I would say yes to all those things. I mean, I think that we as a committee see the merit in this, but it's just not number one on our punch list right now.
And include it in the master plan.
I've got a placeholder for it in the economic development chapter, and we talk about it in the transportation side.
Yeah.
But it impacts the village, as much as longer term, the potential improvements to exit 4 and Gateway.
Yeah.
This, I got the impression from your conversation last month, was a little closer to a little higher on the priority list than, say, exit 4, because that's super long term.
Right.
Still behind Kentucook.
Yeah.
I
And
ask a question just to clarify, going back to the prior graphic, the Kentucky Village one. Was that being highlighted because we're considering whether to keep that in the master plan, or are we proposing to reintroduce that in some fashion?
So in my time with different boards, I have heard a lot of talk about Kentucook. And, so it's my take that, or my understanding, that you'd want at least the concept to be kept in the master plan.
Yeah.
My question was, how much would this board want to emphasize it? and offering up that we do have some consulting engineer time that we could bring to this project if you wanted us to.
I see. Yeah, my 2 cents, all in favor of keeping it in its current, however it's being presented, but I wouldn't do anything to emphasize or reintroduce this concept, or at least we'd want to do so carefully because, I'm seeing a lot of stuff in terms of the landscaping and even just the streetscape and the buildings that are depicted that aren't reflective of what's out there currently. And I think there's potential to create some tension with some of those business owners that isn't intended.
I show this as an example because it's just thought it was really well done 21 years ago. Yeah, lots of things have changed, but this was one concept back in the day. And to be honest, there was for 10, 15 years, folks would kind of talk about it. They weren't that fond of the charrette or the results of the charrette. And I think it's gained more of a following in the last 5 years or so.
So Mike, just to clarify, I mean, if the engineer did put some time into this, it sounds like maybe I misheard some of the potential misrepresentations that's present in this one could be corrected.
Absolutely.
Okay. I don't know, Eric, if that changes your opinion at all.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if there's money to revisit this and do a little work updating it or rethinking it or addressing some of the points of contention, this is all before I was even in town. I'm definitely in support of that.
And I think it could tie in with some of the planning for the TAP grant, to be honest.
I just wanted to throw 2 quick things out there. This is kind of like what I was talking about earlier with the sculpture analogy. I think this is kind of like that, right? And that's where Mike Vignali comes in, and he can help drill down, like Mike's saying, and kind of bring it more current and get some more specifics on that. And the other thing too, as we're talking about this, I can't help but think of the town of Epsom. In their 1994 master plan, they had a sewer and water extension, and they just kept it on there. They just kept it on there every year. Every time they would update it, they're now finally doing the build out on that. So just by keeping it there, as a placeholder in some way, shape, or form, can be helpful down the road, and it just keeps it on your agenda, right? I'm a note guy, a sticky note guy, and I keep the notes on there. Eventually I'll get to it, but as long as it's on there, you just kind of keep it on there. It's there, you're thinking about it and all that.
That's why we've been carrying this graphic around for so long.
I mean, just to circle back to I think the original question. I mean, I too am supportive of seeing what the result would be if the engineer put some time into kind of updating this.
And I don't think we could do the whole thing. I would say I would ask Mike to do the Fountain Square tie back into the TAP sidewalks. And, something small and incremental, but see where that goes.
Yeah, I think any updating of this would be useful. And if the engineering is limited to a discrete area, that's fine, because that's a start.
How about in the meantime, if I'll talk with Neil about it. I'll see what the timing of our consulting engineer is, and see if there's something that we can do with regards to that. And that's through our transportation program. So, and Anna, we could talk a little bit too, once they do the meeting for the letter of intent, and see if there's some help we can give you on a graphics pre-engineering side.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Because we're doing that for a couple of other towns as well.
And Mike, do you need further direction from us on the overlap with the master plan?
No, I think that was very helpful, actually, understanding kind of the hierarchy of the projects.
Okay.
So, and hierarchy and timing, where, the potential for exit 4 is 15, 20 years out. keep these projects going, but this also helps me with, when you, to be able to emphasize Pine and Park and Fountain Square too.
Okay.
Thank you.
And did you have any others?
Those were my others. I'm all-
Okay. All right.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Those are great things to plan for and dream on. So the other that I wanted to share was the EDC has been asked to provide something for the annual report on what we've done the past year, and I think a little bit about what we hope to do next year. We didn't do that last year because it was in the midst of the pandemic, and the board was effectively shut down for 6-8 months. So I do think we should put something together. I was gonna take the laboring oar and just kind of crank it out, but I wanted to see if any of you had any thoughts on what should be in there. I guess I can just toss out what I was thinking of touching on. And if people have any other ideas about what should be in there, I would invite you to shoot me an email, and I'll do my best to incorporate. But if you have really crazy ideas, it may not make the final cut. So just be aware of that. So what I was going to include is an update on the land swap, the ERZ 79E zones, just that we're continuing to try to fill the TIF advisory boards, and then that we're working on a strategic economic plan, and that we continue to engage both within town and with Henniker and DOT about the Maple Street 2029 intersection. If anybody has any other thoughts about what ought to go in there, again, please shoot me an email. I'm going to try to get it to Robin this weekend. I think she needs it the beginning of next week is like the drop dead date. So if you do have feedback, please send it to me earlier rather than later.
Hey, Steve, I think we should definitely highlight, if you weren't already intending to, the outreach Matt's going to be doing to the business owners in these districts.
Got it. Thanks, Eric. Okay. Does anybody else have anything for tonight's meeting?
No.
Okay, seeing none. Meeting date for next month. So I think we've said previously that beginning of the week is better, Monday or Tuesdays.
Yep.
A month from now would be the 15th. Wait a second. I lied. The 8th would be the 8th.
Yeah.
That is not a select board meeting date. That's right, Neil. March 8th.
That's correct.
Okay. So at least for Anna and I, the 8th is open. Is the 8th or the 9th? Do people have any preference between those two dates?
The 9th is election day.
Oh, yeah. Right. I knew that sounded familiar.
So the 8th?
Yeah, let's go with the 8th then.
Good.
Okay, 6 o'clock, March 8th. Okay, and with that, I'll take a motion in a second to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, roll call, Anna.
Yep.
Eric,
Yep.
Jim,
Yep. Yes.
Andrea.
Yes.
Greg's screen is black, so he'll figure it out. So I'm a yes, by the way. So thank you, Matt and Mike, for joining us and for all the info. And we'll see you guys.
Thanks, everyone.
in a month. Good night, everybody.
Right.